I remember when the first Aish came out, someone with a lot of experience in music said to me, "What were you thinking? This is the worst thing you could have done for your career.
Whoa.
This is going to bury you." And I couldn't understand. I said, what was I thinking?
Uziel, you have good questions.
That's a good
I
question.
mean, look at you. You're making Nimistika Fabrengens over the internet.
You are listening with the previous podcast with Uziel Naparstek, where we go deep with people from our childhood. All right, here we are with Reb Shlomo Simcha Sufrin. He is, I grew up with him, mainly I grew up with you in Hask 18 concert with Kesser and Yachad and Habeit. But many people been listening to his music for a long time, so I'd like to welcome to the previous podcast, Reb Shlomo Simcha Sufrin. How are you?
Shalom Aleichem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yes.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. This is very special to me because you were the first one that I noticed that someone was watching my content. In the past summer, I was listening to Miracles with you and AB, and you recorded a video, and that blew my mind. I remember it was shocking. But like, there's something about your music that like, it's a very niche genre for me, because it's like a lot of singers have the extreme of different types of how they sing. Some people sing deeper, like Rabbi Schwebel, let's say, for example. Some people sing higher, like Mati Steinmetz and so on and so forth. But there's something with you that it's like very flexible in the middle, and it's like very catering to a lot of people's like way of how they listen to music, because it's like both very soothing but also very deep and stark. It's like there's only different levels.
It's it's a matanim and a shamayim, and the Eibishter gives us exactly what we need, and we end up being in contact with the people that need to get that specific kind of hashpah, or that specific kind of chizuk. And so, Baruch Hashem, over the years, my influence growing up was different kinds of music and nusach tefillah and different things that, brought about this combination, I would say.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're originally from England?
That is correct.
Yeah, we're in England.
I was born in Manchester and grew up in London. Most of my childhood was in London.
And this is like, did you grow up in a from neighborhood, from community, or was
Absolutely,
this?
Yeah, from community. Yeah, I used to actually live near Yigal Salik. Friday night I used to sit on his table with his kids.
No way.
And we used to, harmonize and sing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a legend. He's a legend.
Wow.
Everyone knows. Was he the one that composed Aish Chayil, or no?
Not to my
No,
knowledge.
but it was Maidani, the famous Maidani. Was that Yigal?
No.
No. Oh, okay, fine. So my mistake.
No, Yigal composed many nigunim.
Oh yeah.
Ki Yikore that we did Kansipur
yes.
was Yigal Salik.
Yeah.
He's the London Pirche. All the London Pirche.
Yeah. They did the London Pirche did like what. They like opened up what it meant to have like a from boys choir, so to speak, in modern Jewish music. Like, if a lot of people like love Miami, but like Yeshiva, like New York boys choir, but if you look at like Pirche, they were doing this like 20, 30 years before these choirs were doing these stuff.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Would you say so? What was music for you as a child?
It was everything. It was simcha. It was an expression of emotions. It was, I grew up in a home that was very musical. It was we were a lot of kids. Kanara was a big family, and we all sang. And I just assumed that everyone did that the same way. I never realized that it was maybe a little more unique. But I loved standing next to the Chaz in the shul and watching every nuance and learning every kvetch and then listening to records and listening to cassettes back in the day and 8 tracks and just loved to get in as much as I could and learn as much as I could and express as much as I could. But it was tremendous. I remember growing up as a child with no social media.
Yeah.
I used to get rides home from school because I knew this guy had a nice collection of music. I'd listen on the way.
Oh, wow.
I used to have different people with different music collections and get to learn what's going on.
Did you as a child listen to music, would you say, differently than other people? I mean, everyone listens to music in their own way, but I mean, like, for me, let's say, for example, if I'm listening to a chazan or music, I'll like pick up these little things in the singer and behind the scenes, or was just music for you?
When I liked a song, I would listen it over and over again until I mastered it. I had to get every nuance, everything. And then some songs you kind of have your own little interpretations that you kind of add to it. But when I liked the niggin, I would just, I wouldn't put it down till I really got the whole thing. That was the way I used to listen to music.
Yeah. So would you say that, did listening to music as a child or as a bacher change at all to how you listen to music now? Because before you did it professionally and now you're doing professionally, would you say there's a difference really? Or
before I did it professionally, yeah, it was much more enjoyable back then. Really? Because there was a certain innocence to it. There was no, I didn't have to learn anything. I just wanted to, after years of often when I'm listening to something, it's because I need to know it for recording. I need to know it for a concert. I need to, I'm doing a thing with somebody else. So there's always like an angle of a deadline or a specific job. So it changes a little bit. I mean, once I start singing, once I get into a niggin, it doesn't matter whether there's 1,000 people there or 10,000 people or one person there. Once you luck into a niggin, I enjoy the niggin the same way. Mm-hmm. But there was a certain innocence and purity that once you get into it, it costs you a little bit. Right. Kind of costs you a little bit. Not because you don't like it as much anymore, but because there's just outside energies that come into play. So to be able to really get lost in the music takes a little more. I'd say that would be
And the best way for people to understand it is like kind of like when you listen to music as a child or when you're older. Like I feel like children are more open to different music. I mean, obviously kids like certain music, obviously, but when it comes to like giving the chance or actually sincerely listen to it. But then when you're an adult, there's like certain genres. Some people like chazanah, some people like nagunim, some people like modern music. Like it's very, like it's a little different. But the best way to describe it is probably like that.
I think we're definitely influenced by. There's no question about it. We are influenced by what we hear, by growing up. I didn't, I enjoyed the music I heard, but the music was introduced to me. I didn't go looking for that specific music. Right. So today, sometimes there are musics that don't speak to me at all, or didn't speak to me at all, and then I see the kids are so into it. And I'll go back and take a look and try to figure out what it is that they like about it. And you do find things. I mean, rap, it's... I don't find it relaxing. I don't find it soothing. I don't find it... But I can appreciate...
the artistry.
Especially, I teach in a yeshiva for kids that need chizuk.
Yeah.
And we have a studio there. And we have some kids that are very into rap. And when I start listening to the words, sometimes you really hear some very deep concepts, almost like somebody that would be writing a poem, but they're just putting it into a different genre. Sometimes you see incredibly deep things and incredibly smart lines that express something really incredible, which I can have an appreciation for. But it's never where I would go to get inspired. It's just not. But I can appreciate what it is, what it is. But we definitely get influenced by what we're exposed to. There's no question about it.
Yeah, for me, one of the things I do is react to music, as you obviously know. And what's interesting is that, like, when I ask people to send me music, it's because there's stuff out there that I don't necessarily listen to on my own. So when people send it to me, it's because they either gravitate somehow, whether it's minute or really much, to that song. So when I give my thoughts over it, the first thing I never do is like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, because it is art. in a certain sense. And so like there's always going to be something that you might appreciate, whether, like you said, there's the poetry or there's the production side of it, but there's always something that's there that grabs people and that maybe you would respect of it at least.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, even there's a lot of swearing and bad language,
Yeah.
and
Fortunately.
I'd say like, why? How can you be melamed zchus on that? I mean, like, what is the purpose? And again, in general, it's to like a shenishbu, or not to, in general, because at the end of the day, one becomes desensitized by exposure.
Right.
But I'm thinking to myself, not in a judgmental way, but in a way of why? What is that like? Why are you doing that?
There has to be something.
So sometimes if somebody's in tremendous pain and they're screaming and they want to be heard, sometimes as opposed to screaming loud, they say something provocative that makes you turn your head to say, what did you just say? So, sometimes the harshness of the language, I can see why people, like, I can understand why they would do it. Clearly, it's wrong and
Right.
it shouldn't be done. But I'm saying, like you're saying, it's art. It's a form of expression, but there are
Right.
better forms of expression. And I could just say that I feel very fortunate, Baruch Hashem, that I grew up at a time where the influence and the expression of music that I was exposed to was music of Kedusha. I'm very fortunate because it could have been. Sometimes we have to realize Ashrenu Matov Chalkeinu is not just about that we're born Yidden, but just that the environment that we're born in gives us an appreciation
For sure.
for something that is that is beautiful, and Lemaisa, even people that grow up with other music, and even if they don't speak Hebrew, I see often that I'm able to penetrate and get to people who say, I don't know what you said, but I know you were talking to God.
Yeah.
I know there was, I know that was sad. I know that was happy. I know that was encouragement. I know that was... So there is something about music that, even if somebody's not into that genre, that they're able to appreciate. And for me, I think part of the challenge of doing music professionally was to learn how to be true to yourself and deliver a message through the art form as you appreciate it in a clear enough and a confident enough way that whoever hears it will be touched by it in the way that it was meant to be.
Yeah, and that's what I see common when I interview people, not just in the music side, but in general when they do stuff professionally, that the only way people will appreciate what they work on is if they're authentic to themselves. I see it every time. And it's so true because a lot of people are trying to chase for the next thing or try to be something that's popular, but I'm missing the word, the longevity doesn't last, and or at least people don't gravitate to that for long. And it's just so true when it comes to authenticity. Even if people don't necessarily like it 100% as you would want to, but just at least the respect you get for people to understand like what you're doing, because it's all has to do with authenticity.
Yeah. I did a recording with my son for his bar mitzvah, and we did 2 songs. We did Tehillim Album, and
Who was that by?
Tehillim Album is by Moshe Goldman, Oliver Shalom,
Oh, okay.
and we did Daddy Dear.
Yeah.
And I played it to Shia Mendlowitz, Oliver Shalom. He was,
Yeah.
set me up
Such
on the
a
scene.
legend.
And I played him first Daddy Dear, and he was like, I was like, you're not pulled by it? My son, he's
Yeah.
there. He says, it's been done. Like, what did you add? In other words, you heard something and you repeated it. It bothered him that he felt that it lacked originality. You were just giving over an emotion that you'd heard somewhere and you're repeating it. Then he heard Tehillim Album, and he said, oh, that's great. Why is it great? Because both you and your son never heard the original. There was no influence.
Wow.
You heard a niggin and you made it your own. And the way it came out, it's your own. And she had the ability to appreciate that.
Wow.
So he didn't like covers. not because unless there was some, unless you added a dimension to the song that wasn't there before. I remember Moshe Aaron with Shia a year before he recorded with me. Every time I was with him, he says, "Did you listen to it?" I was like, "No, well, okay, let's play it. Listen to it. I had that song for a year before he said, "Okay, let's record it," because he wanted that I should absolutely get and appreciate. And also, the older recordings were not always pleasant to listen to.
Right,
they were very clear, but he wanted me to own it, and I needed to hear it enough times before I really chap what it was. Not just chap what the niggun was about, but I was able to add and make it my own, give it my own flavor. And then he was like, "Okay, now we can record."
Yeah, and I so feel it when I heard it, because the first time I heard Moshe Aaron was Helfgut in Has 25. But then I started really, because I grew up with snippets of your music always. And so when I get older, when I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in charge of like the disc or whatever, like I'm picking the music. When I started listening to Tehillim and I got to Moshe Aaron, I was blown. And it was something, it was like what you said, there was something different. And there was some sort of stark to it that, as opposed to like, not saying Helfgut wasn't good, like Helfgut was amazing, but there's something that when you sung it, that every part, every verse, every section of the song had its own energy, and it was so beautiful. And that also has to go with the Yisrael Lam, did it? No,
Yes.
that arrangement also goes to Yisrael Lam.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's insane. Like when you get to those tracks. One song that I also like gravitate to from that same album is also Inay Nani Mili, because there are so many dimensions of it, and you feel every person adding their own thing.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. You feel Yossi Green's composition. It was like one of his classic Yossi Green playing around with the words, like Avram Fried's Didal Bay and Mordechai David's Dagomanayan. Yeah, same category. Same. It's all that category of playing with these words, but fits perfectly with that message. And then Yisrael Lam's arrangements, and I also, my favorite part of that song is the end. Out of our part, because it's like you're building up, and then you just and then the roar of Im Lo Yachshav Emas. I just love that part.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. It was we had a lot of fun doing it. It was Moshe Aaron, by the way, the whole first part, I went in the studio and it was done without a track, without anything. It was just,
really?
Yeah.
You just sang it like that?
I sang it straight, and Yaron Gershovsky just accompanied.
Wow.
Around, yeah, that was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's not normal now.
Yeah, that was done. I was like, again, Shia had that appreciation to know that if he put me in a box on that, it would limit.
Yeah.
So,
also, when Shia produced the concerts, you like what I love about especially the Has concerts is that unfortunately nowadays when I go to a concert, it just sounds almost the same as the albums. Like I might as well just listen to the albums. But what was special about the Has concert, that there was a levity and there is this like change, and something different was brought by the singers with their tracks, which is like. Did Shia produce the all concerts also? Some of them? Yeah. So when Amr saying Chazak in the all concert, that's the famous one as opposed to Chazak in his album, because it just everything was just elevated in that aspect. Right. Something was new. Something Epis was different.
Right. Yeah. Again, today also the expectations are so high.
Yeah.
The more advanced technology it becomes. It should become cheaper to put out productions, but it doesn't, because people want more and more and more. It becomes very hard to outdo, and the only way to really outdo is to stay true to yourself, to how you feel it. If from the time you came out with a song to a year later you have a deeper understanding of the song, just express that. Don't try to over.
That's so. I hear that all the time, and it just comes back to Avi Rotenberg's song "We Got the Music," where he got the slow part. He says, that one thing we must keep in mind: a Jewish song of any kind is only precious when it brings us closer to Hashem.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever you do, especially now when everything's changing and evolutionizing, that should be the core of any song. And like people also overthink like what makes a Jewish song, what makes a Hasidic song. Does it bring you closer to the Eibusher? And that itself is a deep question that just people have to ask themselves when they listen to music, which is so interesting.
It's a very complex subject. And
Right, yeah,
there's
exactly.
been a lot of things. A friend of mine in Toronto that he sponsored a sefer called Dvar Hashem Baza, and it was written by a Kanoi on music.
Okay.
I wanted to know what I thought of it. I went through it. Some of it, it's not my, I think music is such an important tool today to want us to be careful not to write it off.
Right.
But he ran some tests that were very interesting. He took a greenhouse and he played rock and roll music. And they grew these plants, these flowers, and the heads of the plants literally turned away from the speakers, literally.
Wow.
And they withered. They didn't do well at all. A lot of them died. And then they did it with classical music. Classical music. So Goyish music on both ends. No Jewish music.
Right.
And the plants were strong, healthy, and the heads, like the sunflowers, were facing the speakers. Wow. And it says that when they ground when they made the Keteris, it says when you ground it, you said Hodeg Heitev Heitev Hodeg. Why? Mipnei shehakoil, the voice. Yofal psamim. The voice is good for the psamim. What do you mean the voice? So you see that a voice can affect the tzomeach. So for sure it can affect the chayin medaber.
Right.
Which is a huge thing, and I thought that was fantastic because they did an experiment. They took the same environment, and they just played music to plants, and you saw the influence. But what he derived from that was, how do you define music? Well, he played classical music, so how do you define music that's pure or impure? If the beat is the driver, then it's impure. Why? Because it's not music; it's rhythm. It's to rile you up. If the melody and the chords is what's driving it, and the drum is just there to keep it together, that's music that the Mekubalim said they're not Makabel Tumah. So he didn't even take Jewish music to do that with classical versus rock and roll. Wow! So I really like that because that really showed scientifically that the Kedusha and Tumah, how it affects the world. I really liked that part of it, and it was a good Musa Haskell to see. So
Right.
No question about that.
I was listening to you did a kumzitz with Fitcha Bet Shimon Mitzvah Shabbos when you used to do Mitzvah Shabbos things.
Right.
And you said that your first gig, correct me if I'm wrong, your first gig was in Montreal as a chazan for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur at Ben Shimon's show. Right? Am I correct?
It was at a different shul.
Oh, really?
I davened at a different shul. It was in Shamadi.
Oh, okay.
I davened in Shamadi. It wasn't my first gig. It was my first gig after I got married. But I davened as a bacher in England a few times. But Ben Shimon's father, when he went on vacation, I covered for him at his shul.
Yeah.
And from that, somebody recommended that I should apply for a job at the shul that I ended up at the Bailey shul, which I ended up. As my first
So I was kind of there. Like it kind of pivoted to you doing it professionally somewhat. So the reason, besides for getting to know you more, but also I want to bring up because davening has so much to do with music, obviously. But my question is, what would you say, where's like your enjoyment and your sweet spot when it comes to either singing regular, even davening songs or like in concert or something, and then singing Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur or being chazan in a shul?
I'll answer that with a question that I'm asked often.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song?
I don't have one.
Neither do I. Why? Because when I'm sad, right?
You gravitate towards a certain
I
song.
want
Yeah,
a certain song. When I'm happy, I want a certain song. When I'm hopeful, I want a certain song.
it's true.
Right? When
true.
I'm missing someone, I'm missing a period or whatever, a song is not, it's not a furniture, it's not a dining room set. I buy a dining room set, I'm buying one. Don't need 2 dining room sets. Nigunim, I need many.
Yeah.
There's different, you know. What's interesting is that there was some point along the way where I felt like, oh, we got to do nigunim that everyone's into. So I started being led by what I thought people wanted. It was a big mistake. And when I went back to just doing what I feel and what I'm connecting to, the response was much greater. I'm Mitzvah coming out with an album.
Oh,
Baruch Hashem.
finally, we barely get albums nowadays, you know.
The deadline was supposed to be actually Lag BaOmer, but the way things are going now, it's probably closer to Shloshim Agbola, but
Yeah.
we're very close to finishing.
I'm in touch with Yitzi Waldner, and the process of making these albums is crazy because like it's always just there's more to it. There's more to add. There's more things to do. So
But Baruch Hashem, the songs are picked, and most of them are sung.
nice.
The last music sessions are actually happening as we speak. Today, Wednesday, Thursday. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow is the final music part's going down. And
Is
then
it
I
Danny
need to do-
Gross
What's
involved?
that?
Is Danny Gross
No,
involved?
That's in most of the songs were done. I had 6 songs by Yitzi Berry and Klein.
They are
They're incredible.
incredible. They are
and
incredible.
4 songs with Yoeli Dickman.
Oh, it sounds familiar.
So Yoeli Dickman is he's a radio personality in Israel.
Yeah.
Plays chasanas, but he's a phenomenal arranger.
Yeah.
And we've done some beautiful work together. And the music that I'm finishing up now is what I'm doing with him.
Nice.
So he'd like me to come to Yisrael to do the last recording as opposed to doing it here. And being with the yeshiva, it's a little tough, but I'm
Right.
probably going to end up going in a week, like a Thursday night to Sunday
Wow.
night, like a Thursday to Monday, and finish up. But like there was a song that I came up with that was written by Yigal Salek's son, by Yoel Salek.
Oh, really?
And so the words, Mi anoichi she'eskele isparel. Now there was a song that was a big hit, a few years ago. Mi anoichi she'eskele isparel. You know what I mean? So it was
Sounds
sung
familiar.
many times. The Rebbe sang anyway. So the producers were saying, "Nah, we can't do that song. There's a Mi anoichi out and it's a hit." I said, it's a completely different interpretation of the words.
Right.
It's a different, the entire phrasing of which words were used was not just the phrasing. I'm saying the verses from that, not all the words are exactly the same, and it's a different niggin. And I stuck to my guns and I did it, and it's actually going to be the title track. And
Wow.
I put out a little teaser just online, from the studio, and
I gotta check
played
that out.
2 bars of that song. I was inundated with emails and requests. What is that song?
Wow.
When is it coming out? What's it called? Something caught people's attention.
Yeah.
I want to hear more of that. Give me more of that. Give me more of that.
And you see that so often. Like, I always pivot to the story of Shlomi Dax when he came up with Amal Chagel, right? Like, that was the same story. It's that time, like, oh, AB's Amal Chagel is it. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I just have to. And he did it, and it was such a hit with people. Like, something about that Amal Chagel made people gravitate to that one.
Yeah, it's very true. Sometimes people have a certain feel about a certain words, and it's not a stira. It's not a contradiction.
Right.
At all. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, those 2 Hamal Chagels, for example, are kind of, if you want to go simple terms, it's very similar genres, very similar tones, slow. But then you can also have something really drastically different. One example is Ivdu Es Hashem B'Simcha. By everyone knows that the yeshiva band, the Aysh yeshiva band's version, Ivdu Es Hashem B'Simcha, and then there's Shashelis Junior's Ivdu Es Hashem, and it's such a whole different worlds, and it's so interesting to see those things. And it's very much, that's the power of tefillah.
Mi Aish, mi
Aish, yeah.
mi
Aish, oh, it's so good.
Totally
different.
Yeah.
And I think very much so that's the whole power of tefillah.
I had a composing session with Yossi Green not too long ago. And he started playing a melody, and right away it took me to... Sometimes Yossi starts with a certain emotion. Often we sit, we talk, we learn a little chassidus, we learn a little...
Everyone has that same story with Yossi.
And then there's inspiration. And when the inspiration starts, sometimes he's just playing melody and certain words will come to my head. And a Malach HaGoyel came to my head. And Yossi was like, he gave me that look like a Malach HaGoyel. I said, no, just go with me on this, go with me on this. And we ended up doing a section that was about a father putting his kid to bed. And then he says a malach, but then he tells his child, sleep, my child, sweet dreams. Don't worry, the Aish is watching you. He's there with you. He's going to take care of you. And we did that in Yiddish and in English. Wow. And it's really, really, really incredible. And it was, but I'd already finished all the songs on my album.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, down the line, and about a month ago, Yossi called me. He says, I'm working with a singer right now. I need to give him this niggin. So I said, okay, go ahead. Because I realized that also certain nigunim, there's a time. Sometimes it could be timeless, but you can't know that. Certain times,
right.
The heritage that you have, the emotion that you have is relevant now.
Right.
So to hold onto a song and go, no, I'm going to do it on my next album, it might miss the boat. So
right.
I have to be okay. I'm honored that I got a part of working with Yossi on it. I'm happy. It's going to be something really, and the singer that has it, I know will do a phenomenal job.
Oh, wow.
Probably better than me. So
can we get
I'm happy.
A snippet of who it is? Or
it's not mine to tell.
Okay, fine.
It's not for me to tell, but yeah. It'll be beautiful.
One song, you probably get this a lot because it's huge. It was huge before, but it really blew up online, is you and Rivi Schwabel's Habeit. And I think there's so many different layers to why people like it. There's like the physical aspect where it's you and Rivi Schwabel. You could say simple terms that you kind of different spectrums of singing, but you guys took it to a whole new level. And then simply you could say that the message of Habeit, that song is so deep and like the first now that sometimes I think about these songs and I only come up with a revelation later, is that the first half is very much like a davening kind of like sort of, but it's like a davening with like a plea, and then like the second part is like a proclamation, right? Yeah. And it's like it's the same message, but the song takes you to a whole different level of how you're supposed to feel about it.
Different dimension, yeah.
Yeah, and it's insane. That whole thing.
I received a video today from the shul where Adam Rosh Hashanah Kippur made a trip to Europe, and they were in Auschwitz today.
Wow.
And they're standing there, arm in arm, singing Habeit. It is so powerful. A lot of the tours, they often have Habeit playing in the speakers there.
Yeah.
But seeing people sing it during the Oyma with no music, just singing together was very, very moving. Somebody sent me a clip. And, it's a song that especially in the, the Ikvus of the Mashiach, this time in Golas just really resonates with so many people. At the time, I can't speak for AB, but I had no idea how great the song was. I knew I connected to it. I knew I related to it. I knew,
I wanted to bring this up because Habeit is such a good example of AB, how he writes both lyrics and music. Like, if you really think about it, these songs are very simply composed, and the words are also written with simple words. Like, it's not like trying to add words to make it more fancy or to make it more deeper. They're very simple written, but there's just something about it that they're very deep. There's some poetry. There's something there that just gravitates, and it could be something like with Tefillah. And then the simple like songs, like I was talking the other day about Joe DiMaggio's Card, that song. Like, it's just like a simple song.
But is it simple?
Right.
If it was simple, why didn't you do it? Why didn't I do it?
Right. And
There's a gift of composing it's a gift.
yeah.
It's a chutzpah, it's a gift. I can sit with a composer and come up with an inspirational note or inspirational song, but if I sit by myself, very, very rare. I've written a few songs in my life, but it's an art. It's a certain art that you have to be gifted with, and I mean, look at Shlomo Simcha. A lot of his nigunim,
Right.
two, three chords, but
Exactly.
they are timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually. So now I just thought of this question. Then, you just said how you have songs, but when you sing with a composer, it's different. Would you find, is there like a different atmosphere that let's say if you come up with a song one day and you're like, this song needs this, so I'm gonna go to, let's say, AB, or like this song has this, so I'm gonna go to Yossi. Is there that
Sometimes,
much
yeah.
Avir that you go to?
Sometimes. Or even if I'm looking for a specific kind of song, sometimes I will go I'll go to different composers for a different kind of song, yeah. Definitely.
Would you say, because would you say that, like, my basic question is, like, let's say, for example, Baby AB and Yossi, like, what would you say their unique strengths are that you would say, oh, that's like a Yossi song or that's an AB song?
It's hard to put it in a box because they've both written
Timeless
such
songs.
but also the diversity,
Yeah.
you know. Hodam Doyeg Aldamav Adra Betanya. I mean, if you move around, you know.
Right, so that's my question. So, like, what makes it the song that these guys make such diverse songs, such different genres, different words, different aspects, but at the same time, you will go, oh, I want to work on this type of thing. I'm going to go to AB or Yossi or Yitzi Woolner or Yitzi Berry and Ellie Klein, like all these people. Like, what would you say? I guess it's hard to describe each and every composer that you ever worked with, but I'm saying B'chlal.
Yeah, but Yossi, often the song and the lyrics come together.
Huh. Which is why all these like playing around songs work, like in a million songs.
The truth is AB also, but I find that
I get what you're saying. There's like some sort of connectivity with Yossi, with his,
there's something. Sometimes there's sophisticated melodies,
right?
So you can't just decide to say, okay, let's do Adar Abba the Keladon this week,
Right? Yeah.
right? It's not going. I'm not going to say all his Nigunim, but certainly going to be Yossi are very specific to the words, to the feeling, to the emotion. It might be easier to take a niggin from AB and put it to different words because the structure of the niggin is much more user-friendly in a certain way.
Right.
But there again, when you have these, but not all Yossi songs, many of Yossi songs do have this, the simplicity. But some of those songs you can't just use for something else. And but the other side of that coin is that when a song and lyrics fit like a hand in a glove, there's something incredible about that. So it's not one miler over the other.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
just,
for sure.
It's just different styles.
Right,
Totally
exactly.
different styles, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to go for
Yeah.
specifically like what's the Milo between the two. I mean, like there's got to be some aspect where you go to one or the other. But let me ask you this: have you done songs where you went to different composers to help, like not just one composer, or do you think that's a little like too much cooks in the kitchen type of thing?
You don't want to do that, really.
Right.
It's not a good idea. There are collaborations. Yossi Green and A.B. Rottenberg wrote a song together.
Really?
Elokai neshama
Real? Oh,
shenasato bi.
I gotta listen to it. I don't know the song, but I gotta listen to it.
No, yo, neshama. Check it out.
Wow.
It was
Who sang
sung
it?
by Daddy originally.
Oh, Daddy.
Great niggin that was written together. There are songs that are written together that that can be quite amazing. I spent a beautiful Motzei Shabbos a few years ago with AB and Yossi together.
Oh wow,
It was quite something just to
that's incredible.
to hear the two legends discussing music together. Was quite incredible.
Because
Quite
there are very different people. With such different backgrounds, and people also gravitate to music to each singer that are very different. Meaning, like there's the English songs that are typically AB's repertoire, and then there's like Yossi Green, which has like the Yiddish Nigunim repertoire. So it's like I would love to see that. You also sang with a lot of singers over the years.
Yeah.
Is there a singer that, I don't want to say like which one's your favorite, because again, back to what we were saying, there's no favorite. But would you say there's a singer out there that is very much like your style? Like let's say you sing with them or you talk to them and you realize this guy kind of does the same as me, kind of?
If any of us did the same, one of us wouldn't really be.
Right, but at least like you would say like, that's something that I would do, or that's interesting because I did this project like this, that kind of like what you were doing.
I think it's hard to say that. It's very hard to say that. Just like every neshama is different, every parts of it is different, every expression is different. Motcha and Avremel, being older than me, and I heard them a lot as a child growing up. They influenced my style, no question about it. They definitely had an influence on my style.
I think that's the power of Avremel and Motcha, that they inspired everybody, which is crazy.
There's no question about it. They definitely influenced my style, and I got to know Motcha very well. Avremel not as well. I just didn't. He's an incredible human being. He's a wonderful person. I just haven't clocked as many hours with him as I have with Motcha. But they are incredible human beings. Motcha was very helpful in helping me get started. He took me on a lot of concerts and did a lot of things. Avremel inspired me as a bacher growing up. I mean, and my challenges as a bacher, his music was
really
strong, very, very strong influence. And his amunah and his bitachon that come through in his nigunim that I have a tremendous akaras hatov and appreciation for. Wow. So there's no question about it that they were an influence. They were definitely a big influence. But I have my own neshama, my own experiences, and
that's the way to do it. That's the way to approach music in general. Like there is a unit, and that's what's very interesting and so to speak strange about music, is that it brings everyone together, but everyone has their own take on it.
I had once a singer where I was listening to something when one of my kids said to me, "Is that you?" And I was like, for a second, I was like, "Was that me?" And then a minute later, I was like, "No, I know who that is." Why would I question whether it's me? Because sometimes you do a guest appearance on an album that you never really heard, never really got the album. So you're in the studio, you learned the song the week before, you went in, you sang it. Sometimes you only sang half the song. I remember specifically a song that AB and I sang, but we didn't sing at the same time in the studio. We were in the studio together, and he knew the A part and I knew the B part. And we were at a concert, everyone was asking us to sing the niggin, and AB looks at me and says, "I only know half." I was like, "Yeah, I also only know half." So we decided that we weren't going to sing it then until
oh wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a good idea because one might be left. That can happen. There are situations that can happen. But speaking with that singer told me that I was a big influence on him growing up. So, it's very interesting how that works.
Let's go to a question that I really wanted to bring up, that you very much started to where you are now in this like crazy switcheroo of Jewish music. Like probably there was a lot of things like when Motcha came in, a lot of things changed, and when Shia Mendelowitz came in, it was a lot of things changed. But you kind of saw all that kind of, and one of the things that kind of showcases that in your career is the Aish albums, because when you did the first one with AB, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't a short wait till the second one. It was pretty long.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the third album, even longer. So it's interesting that the Aish albums had like this different stage of where Jewish music was and where you were and where AB was. What would you say was the major differences between, at least maybe the first and second to the third, because that was the longest, but what would you say is the difference between those albums, those three Aish albums, because those are legendary albums in itself?
It's every album has its uniqueness of it, the period, what's going on in the world at the time, what's going on in your personal life, in your general life, in the community. There's so many aspects but when we did Aish 1, I met AB on an Erev Shabbos in Toronto in Estonia. He goes, "Don't you hate that you always have to go into New York for the album? And it's so hard." He's like, "You know what, why don't we work on something here with no deadline?"
This is in Toronto.
Yeah. No deadline. We'll get together, we'll get together once a week, once in 2 weeks, we'll go through music. And when we have enough songs, we'll go in and record it. And when we're ready, we'll come out, and that's it. I was like, sure, great idea. I went to meet with him, and, he says, I wrote this song 17 years ago. I never came up with a good B part. And one of those songs is still not finished. I love the first part. We never came up with a satisfactory B part. And it is just, that's where it's left.
How often does that happen?
Can happen. Sometimes you have a song, you just park it. Yossi also. It can happen. Wow. And then we have, so we worked on it very slowly. Some of the songs we had from before, some we worked on together. And then when it was all done, and everything was recorded, then we said it would come out. So we really did it over 2 years. There was no pressure, there was no worry. Then it did so well. All of a sudden, it's like, when are you doing to it? When are you doing to it? So then now you started to work a little quicker, and you're working a little, and you're trying to outdo the first one, which is not a good way to work on any album.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do your thing, and whatever happens, happens. We actually have enough material for another Aish. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, but we're...
Donnie Gross, do it now.
So,
one of my favorite... Here's the thing about the Aish albums is that 3 is very different, and one of the things you did different was that you did bring in different singers to collaborate with you and AB. One of my favorite is... I forgot the name of the song, but it's Al Tashlicheni, because it's crazy the different, because you had Revi with you. And again, it's the same thing. There's something about Revi that Reb Schwebel, that he's not your typical singer that most people listen to, but he fits so well with the music that he collaborates or sings with. And you saw that in Al Tashlicheni, because it's AB and you, because it's like one of those things where I like the Aish albums, that AB and you, the voices are, let's face it, kind of different. And then you bring another guy that's even more different. It's
that's what the dynamics of the album is the contrasts. Contrast creates beauty.
Yeah.
And that's something that comes out. Listen, the Deira Flogger the music was not affected, the Deira Flogger. When the languages were mixed up, music wasn't.
Right.
Go anywhere in the world, it's one language.
Yeah.
A note is a note. So
it's crazy.
That's the gift. Usually you can't hear two people talking two different things at the same time, but yet you can hear a harmony and a melody at the same time. There's a certain holiness about music that allows for that. So we have that dynamic on the Aish. I remember when the first Aish came out, someone with a lot of experience in music said to me, "What were you thinking? This is the worst thing you could have done for your career.
Wow. This
is going to bury you." And I couldn't understand. I said, "What was I thinking? This wasn't a business move or an image move. This was just
Nanigan. You were just singing.
That spoke and singing. It's like coming to my living room and hear me sing."
Yeah.
It was about 20 years later that he phoned to tell me that he was wrong.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, I think it didn't come up because it was his analysis of the music. He was thinking, if you want to be a solo artist, you need to be doing this kind of song, you need to be doing that kind of song. And now you're like a group. You're like, I don't care about that stuff.
Right.
I care about being a part of delivering great music. And apparently, so do the fans. So
Yeah.
the listeners feel the same way.
Yeah. But what's funny is that sometimes that people's opinion, like for example, if that guy that told you something, sometimes, now I'm saying that instant, but sometimes they have something to it, but it doesn't necessarily matter at the end of the day. Meaning, because again, you were saying just the way to do it is just singing, because that's what people want people to do. People want singers to do. People want just, I want to hear a singer sing a niggin. Whether it's bad or good, that's a whole separate story. But the fact that you're coming up with a niggin to sing to the world shouldn't matter what the outcome should be, because at the end of the day, the process is everything.
100%.
You also sang in 2 story tapes, or 2 at least I know. You sang in Mama Smith's Machine 4.
Yep.
And The Lost Treasure.
That's right.
And so here's my question, because I'm also very much into story tapes and videos when I was a kid. But from music aspect, my question is there a different level when you sing to children, or at least you're singing a song that you know children are going to be the target audience for this music? Is there something different that you put into when you sing those types of songs?
I think the emotions are more pure. They're just not. They're not as heavy as when you're singing for adults. They're more
right.
Keep it simple.
And you feel that when you sing it.
You tend to feel that a little bit, yeah. But you're not diluting for the kids. You're giving the kids as is.
Right. Yeah.
You're not holding anything down, but just
which is what is great about the songs that you sang on those albums. That they were regular songs. You could put it in any album and it'll be a regular song. But because it was, the only difference is that it was on a children's album.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like that's what AB's approach with music that he did for those albums, because like those are great songs.
Yeah.
And like let's say Shmuel Kunda, he has also very good songs, but they're very much like the story tape songs. You know, like those are for the goofy kids that are listening to. But AB, I don't know what it is.
But it's funny, even adults, you know, sometimes we're at a concert and AB will go, any requests, you know, and somebody go, who spilled the milk? And you know, some guy in his 40s is like, you know, he's like...
Betty Freeman got a request. I remember this. It was I guess it made sense because it was Purim, but he did a Kumsitz with Fitche, and one of the requests that he kept getting in the comments was the hippopotamus song.
Yeah.
Would you say is your favorite song that you have worked on? Is there a favorite? Or let's word it this way, because again, that was kind of unfair for my part. But what would you say was one song that's your favorite working on? Like the process really, something opened up in that process that opened your eyes to music, or it really opened something in your neshama. What would you say? Is there a song, or at least a song that you're thinking of? Right.
It's hard to say. I think you know that special melody on the first album was composed by Yossi. You know, Polina Klever wrote the English. Motre Mendiwürdige did the Yiddish. Yaron Gershovsky's wife wrote the Hebrew. My wife did the French. It was collaborative. It was just very nice working with so many people and so many great people.
Yeah.
On a song. I think it was very memorable.
And that could be an example of what you were saying before. That what are you adding to the song? Right, it's very nice to be working with people here and there, but what are you adding? And that song probably really fit that
person.
Yeah. Another song comes to mind. I can't believe I didn't ask this earlier. When you sang with Ohad, Adatanya, that was like the fact that whose idea was it to do that?
That was
Yossi Green, really?
Yeah.
Wow, because it is. Like, who would have thought to put those two songs together, and the messages fit, the songs. It's just so many levels, and you also sang with Ohad.
Genius.
Yeah. What was like? How far into the concert, the process of preparing for the concert, did he come up with that? Did he what happened?
I mean, we realized it's phenomenal. I mean, I went through it beforehand in my head to see how it works, and it was like, wow.
Saying, did he contact you, or did Shia Mendel? It's like, well, what was it?
She was a producer of the concert. And
Right.
said, I want to do this niggin, and this is how it's going to go. Yeah, and I spoke to Yossi, and we went through the dynamics, and it was like, wow, this really.
Like that was like, if you think about it, that was like the first mashup. Like there's a lot of now it's a thing that they do mashup a song, but that's like the first mashup. But it worked like beautifully, and also the fact that you and Ohad sang it, and this is even before Ohad really got his peak in his voice that he has now. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. I did want to also end with a compliment that I saw you in action in the dinner in LEC.
Right.
And one things I caught that really impressed me was that you sang Keser. And when I tend to like recognize the song from the first notes and stuff. So when Gershon was playing it, and I realized, wait, that's the same key as you did in Hask 18. And I was really interested as like a guy that grew up with Hask 18 to see like what it would become. And I gotta tell you, like no change. Like it was just as beautiful as it was. I was really happy at that time.
Thank you very much. As we said, it's a siyata d'shmaya. It's a gift from heaven to be able to do this, and we do our best to use it to have a good hashpah the best way that we can. And I feel very, very blessed to be able to do something that I love.
Yeah,
and to be able to have the effect that it has.
So I do want to end off with one question, because I was talking to someone before. I think it was you actually. I spoke with you. You came last year to Hanukkah to LEC, and we were talking about this trend of singers in Jewish music that we know today that are mechanechim. You, Baruch Levine, Yossi Green, like it's a trend of they're all mechanechim. What do you think that is?
Good question. By the way, A.B. Rottenberg was in.
Also
yeah, for many years.
Yep.
Yeah. Music is a communication tool. It's a teaching tool. Teaching is communicating and giving over something. So I think there's something about that that's not far from each other. The Torah is called a shir.
Mm-hmm.
The Atzakis v'lechem is a shira azois. It's interesting. David HaMelech was punished for saying zmiros hayili, but not for shira.
Oh wow.
Shir. So what's the difference between a zemer and shir? The shir, the shirish of the word shir is the color. You can't take an ox out on Shabbos with the shir. The shir is that round circular color. So a good niggin you can jump on anywhere, and you can just keep going and going and going and going, and you jump off anywhere. That's what Torah is compared to. There's no end. It goes and goes and goes. It's round. That's the shir. A zemer it's a specific curve. It starts here and it finishes there. So that was the thing of shir. So really, the Torah is called a shira.
Yeah.
And so teaching Torah and song have a commonality. What's the commonality? People understand music even if they don't speak the same language.
Right.
Torah can touch us all.
Mm-hmm.
Torah is timeless. And Torah, there's no barriers. There's just no barriers between us. It has that ability, like a song, to touch so many people, and everyone can hear it in their own way, and communicate with it in their own way. Every human being has different challenges, different abilities. Certain mitzvahs are harder, certain mitzvahs are easier, but they're all the same. They're all the same mitzvahs. We're all putting on tefillin. We all have the same mezuzahs. We all have the same Shabbos. Yet somehow the dynamics between people don't change it. It just makes it this more geschmack for this person, this more geschmack for that person, this more challenging. And I think that's the thing with a niggin. A niggin, each person takes from it what they need to take. So it's not such a far thing, the teaching and expressing a song. There is some commonality between it. So otherwise, it's just hard to explain. I mean, I never taught for years, but I felt when this opportunity came up that it was just something I wanted to give back and give kids today that need.
And this is recently you teaching.
Yeah.
Right. So would you say that ever since you started teaching that different things enhanced for your singing because you became a teacher?
I never thought about it much, but lately I've had a few comments from listeners that tell me that since I've been teaching, they see a difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, that's something that people pick up. Those little things, and somehow it's just a revelation of like music to you, and it's like, okay, wow, it's insane. All right, thank you so much. There's so many other things that I want to talk about as a fan of music.
We'll have to do an episode 2.
Yeah, Mirza Shem. Oh wow, this was great. I love the insights in and out, and also like Bichlal, like it's one thing to listen to music and to take something, but hearing behind the scenes and hearing these stories, it's unbelievable, especially when a time of Sphira. This is the medium to stay with the music somehow, you know.
Amazing.
All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Very much.
Yes, it was amazing.
Thank you very much. Not too early to say Kabbalah Satorah b'Simcha v'Pnimius. We're coming up now.
Yes.
And Lag B'Oyim and Mitzvah. We'll get back into the music, at least for a day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going into music also a little bit. What would you say as a piece of advice?
As a piece of advice,
Yeah.
be yourself. Express the things that you feel and that you believe, and regardless, without any ulterior. And make sure you have a day job.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. But that's the thing. AB was kind of the opposite. Like the singing wasn't his main job. Right. So, all right. So thank you so much for joining us. It was a really great conversation.
Pleasure. Thank you. Hatzlacha.
Perfect. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, Rabbi Shlomo Simcha, for inviting us into your home for the podcast. It was an amazing conversation. I had so much fun, and I can't believe that we only touched the iceberg on what I wanted to talk about with you, and I can't wait for you to have a part 2 with you. Please, everyone, tune in for every Thursday for another episode of the PBS Podcast, and also tune in for all our reactions and reviews. Every Sunday, our reactions, and every day, our reviews, and every Tuesday, our live streams. It's really a lot of fun, and I can't wait for you guys to enjoy it, and also for the upcoming episodes every Thursday on YouTube and on Spotify. Can't wait to see you guys again, and I'll see you next time.